creative with the title.
I've been having fun. I'm getting like a sailor losing his mind at sea, this late in the season. Just gotta have fun with it. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Wild, wild day. Wild day. Did we clinch? Are we sure we clinched? I thought the deal was
No,
that
we clinched it. We
Bam.
clinched a share. We clinched a share.
You
It'll
sure?
be
Okay.
outright. It'll be outright if Alabama loses. If Alabama loses, no one can catch us.
Okay. And you've confirmed that. You've seen that other places.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
the official Twitter account just tweeted it out that we're
Good.
SEC
Good. I don't
champions.
know why I thought it
No one
was.
else. No one else can claim it today. Alabama can claim it if they win out. That's the
Okay.
only way. So no matter what, we
We're
control our
SEC
destiny.
champions no matter what.
Yeah, and we control our destiny to win the whole thing outright. Because even if we lose to A&M and Alabama doesn't lose, we will. We can beat them at the end of the year, and it's ours.
Is live showing up right for you?
Yeah.
I'm not having our faces aren't on here for some reason. Oh, you know what? I'm on the TV for some reason. There we go.
Yeah, and we control our.
Welcome in, AU Bear. Big one, big one. Can't believe how many SEC championships we've been able to celebrate on this podcast in just 4 years.
And YouTube, you're gonna be privy to something for everybody else. We got Wendell Green Jr. That interview is gonna drop on Monday.
Wendell Green. We've been very lax on the interviews this year. If you've been listening since we've been doing this, we did lots and lots of interviews for the first 2 years, which were great, but we've all been very, very busy. So lax in the interviews this year. But luckily,
some of us are still busy, but we're getting it done anyway.
Luckily, Ben has stepped it up and got us a couple of interviews here at the end. If there's somebody in particular you guys want us to interview before the year's out, let us know.
And if you haven't, go back and listen to our Cliff Ellis interview and our Sonny Smith interview. Or not Cliff Ellis. Was it?
Yeah, we got Cliff. We got
Cliff
Ellis,
Ellis.
we got Sonny Smith, and we've got Bruce Pearl. If anyone has the Tony Barbie contact, let us know. We got to get Tony Barbie on here.
We do not. I will boycott that episode.
Tony. I've been waiting to get Jeff Lebo on here, but Jeff Lebo is still a coach. He's still at UNC as an assistant. So there's no way we're going to get him during the season. Even in the off season, I don't think he would do an Auburn podcast until he's retired, probably.
All right, got us blasted out on. Is he in?
Oh, hold on. I think so. He said, "Hold on a second." So I think he's still coming. There he is. He couldn't help but come in to celebrate these Auburn SEC champions.
I said it's great to be an Auburn Tiger. I'm gonna wait on our graphic until we clinch it outright. But
yeah, it's cool.
Nice hat.
Yeah, this is one of the hats.
Are we doing that today?
Oh, they're doing the Rupp hat.
Yeah, I've got a shirt and I've got a hat.
Are we gonna do the thing? We're gonna pull that trigger today, or are we wait until the next game?
No, we gotta pull it today. Yeah, we gotta pull it today.
Ben, you're in charge of doing that one. I'll do the lead in and everything.
No, Ryan, have you got the text up?
Yeah, I can do it today.
Yeah, so Jackson, just after you announce the victory and the score and everything, just throw it to Ryan really quick for him to let us know that hey, we got a new sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Boom, and then it's done. We can go right in.
Cool. I'll take it back and probably throw it back to you after that, Ben.
All right, hold on. We are blasted up on Twitter. We're blasted up on IG. Jackson, you need a link for Reddit. Are you good?
I got the Reddit link open.
Okay.
I'll let you share the
Ryan. Matt's got some great stuff for us to talk about in here. This will be fun.
Yeah.
All right, you boys ready to record? YouTube, you ready? Quiet in the chat. Jackson, we're going live in 3, 2.
All right, guys, we are coming off a 94-78 win. We have just clinched the SEC championship regular season. Your Auburn Tigers, #1 in the nation, #1 in the SEC. We've clinched at least a share in the SEC. The only other team, Alabama, would have to win out to get it. I'm hoping we can get it exclusively. It was a wild game. Another piece of history in the Auburn lore. The first time since 1988 that we have won in Rupp. And the Rupp whistles were blowing, and we still blew past that. This team is that good. We can overcome insane stuff like these referees. we can overcome insane things like the ESPN broadcast going out. Blew out. None of it was a blackout. It was a blue out because they showed a blue screen before the thing just dropped. We couldn't, it was like it was 1988. Everyone was listening on the radio to hear this historic victory as we get a ring in the SEC, the toughest conference in the nation, maybe the toughest conference all time. We have just clinched. That's how good we are. Shout out to the Auburn basketball radio team. Holy crap. I had to listen to radio on the way. We already loved the radio. I was literally thinking earlier today, I would have told this to Rob Bramlett back in the day, RIP, that if you could get $7.99 a month, $10.99 a month, I would subscribe to that to get the video feed along with the radio. Well, we got that today. People start tuning the radio, and luckily they do this courtside cam where they show just their faces because they can't legally show the game. But hey, when ESPN drops the ball that hard, they turn the camera around, and we watched in weird fisheye angle of the rest of the game to see this historic win. Man, we'll have so much to talk about this win. But first, Ryan, you want to talk about our sponsor we just got?
Yeah, guys, this episode of the Jungle Podcast, this historic win, is proudly brought to you by Warfam Eagle, because we know you don't just wear your team spirit, you live it. So I'm wearing some Warfam Eagle stuff now. If you're on the YouTube, I've got a great hat with the rope, a really cool short shirt. Warfam Eagle was born right here in Auburn, Alabama, which is where I live. Warfam Eagle is more than just a clothing brand. It's a family. It's created by a local crew that gets what it means to belong and be a part of the Auburn family. Warfam is all about wearing what you're already feeling. So from polos to pullovers, sweatshirts, hats, they got you covered. Literally, they got you covered in whatever you want. Whether you're gearing up for game day or just repping Auburn pride in your everyday life, Warfam Eagle is your go-to. So we have an exclusive code here for the Jungle Podcast listeners. If you go to warfameagle.com with code JUNGLE15, there'll be a discount code for you there to utilize to use for the purchase of anything that you want on the website. We'll post that on our socials later, but we're excited to partner with them through the rest of the year. And we thank them for being a part of the Jungle Podcast Auburn family. So join the family, join the Auburn Podcast family, Jungle Podcast family. We look forward to working with them, Warfam Eagle. Guys, I don't know about you all, but I am looking to get some punitive and mental, damages covered for not being able to see the last 14 minutes, or how was it 10 minutes of that game? I mean, crazy. I have never seen anything like that in my lifetime, where the game just disappears out of nowhere. Gone. Poof.
The biggest game of all Saturday, too, the ABC game, was the one that went out. And again, guys, go check out the Warfam Eagle. If you want us to get KenPom, if you want us to get some of these subscriptions that help us talk about basketball, that's how we're going to do it. So please listen to Ryan and go do that. Man, insane. It was already insane that we haven't won there since 1988. It was already insane that Jay Billis is so freaking biased and terrible and horrendous. I can't stand Jay Billis. I'm an official hater of Jay Billis. And then on top of that, the way they talked about Kentucky instead of us, even though we're the number one team, and then it goes out. And then the thing just blew out. I couldn't believe it on such a historic day for us. I hope they have the highlights at least so people can see this kind of thing. But Ben, what'd you think?
You mean the blue lights, Jackson? Because we got the blue screen of death mid-broadcast. But, shout out to Andy Bertram.
Mid-Janai layup. It just gone.
Shout out to Angie Bertram in the broadcast. Shout out to War Report. Those guys are live after the game. We know they're talking about it too. Just like incredible job. And shout out Marlene Navor, dropping the links, letting us know what's going on, reminding people to tune in to the radio broadcast. It feels very Forrest Gump getting his Medal of Honor speech cut by a hippie. Somebody in Kentucky just couldn't stand to see Auburn win and finally do what this team has been doing all year and make history. Boys, the curse is broken. 38 years we've waited for this moment.
It's crazy. And then on top of all that, it's going to be hard to talk about some of this stuff because we were listening. We were tuning into the YouTube, but we're missing our usual pieces of context on this stuff. So we look at the box score here. We all know what happened, but also Janai Broome went out briefly, went to the locker room. Denver Jones did not play for for almost not a full game, but 3/4 of the game, which was huge because Pettiford really stepped up there and hope Denver Jones is healthy. But it's crazy we could pull this off in Rupp against these Rupp whistles, against these referees that were calling nonstop while missing our starting point guard. Then Broome goes out. During the blew out of the game, I said they put a hit on Broom. They didn't want to see the world to see them injure them. No one would know, when they have this not on TV. But he came right back in again. It's kind of a classic thing right now. We freak out about Janai Broom injury just in time for him to come right back in. So one day that wolf will be, we keep yelling wolf or whatever it's called, but he keeps coming back in.
Crying wolf, Jackson.
Crying wolf.
Well, listen, we didn't get to watch a lot of this game, but we didn't need to watch a lot of this game. Kentucky took a lead 4-3 with 17 minutes to go in the first half. Auburn came down, hit a three-pointer, took the lead right back, and never trailed the rest of the game. We have picked up what has to be at least our 15th quad one win of the year. It might only be 14 now, depending on the way the net shakes out. We just picked up another ranked win. We just picked up another road win in the SEC. I have never seen a team this dominant.
We want to go through MVP here, maybe. We got get your MVP votes in on YouTube. We'll look at the Reddit comment section right here. We've got AU Bear, of course. We love AU Bear. Says Kelly, but enough cannot be said about how Hod and CBM played. I think it's going to be tougher than people think because Miles Kelly went off, and we'll talk about that in a second. But to Hod to play 3/4 of the game like that in Rupp Arena was something else. TG Rogan 21 said Miles Kelly with a massive shout out to Pettiford for playing all 20 minutes second half, scoring 21 with 4 assists and 0 turnovers. I think that is absolutely huge. We'll have to talk about that. Bolt 585 says Miles Kelly turned into the Terminator when he crossed state lines. Man, he just went off. Tigers or Eagles said can't be anyone other than Kelly. Break it 07 says Miles Kelly DN. He's a sniper. And I had to take out a certain word in there. Brian Daniels says Miles for MVP. Cam's Current says Miles for MVP for sure. Let's see if there's anybody else in here. Gibbs says got to be MK CBM for Robin. Man, we had some great players this game. Ben, who's your MVP, you think?
I mean, listen, it's easy to look at what Miles Kelly did tonight and talk about how he started this game, hitting 3 out of his first 4 from deep to really stretch that lead, scoring a career high in an Auburn uniform of 30 points. But you already talked about Todd Pettiford and his incredible game, but there's one more guy we got to talk about. Just back-to-back 20-point scoring efforts. Chad Baker-Mazara. I mean, 4 personal fouls, but beyond that, he had 1 block, he had 3 steals, he had an assist, he had 2 rebounds. He was 9 of 10 from the free throw line. When you talk about the way that we iced this game, it was going to be a hackathon down the stretch. Not picking up that 5th foul was huge. He played 29 minutes for us tonight, so another guy playing like 3/4 of the game with how many people were in foul trouble early. 6 of 12 from the floor, so shooting 50% in a hostile environment. You can't say enough about Chad Baker-Mazara tonight.
Storman, who are you thinking about MVP?
I mean, we've seen all year Miles hit shots, hit in rhythm shots. The Vermont game always comes to mind as like that one game where we're like, yo, this guy, he can go off. And I think all year, like we've been kind of waiting for him to have some of those shooting barrage nights. I mean, there would be nights where he would hit threes, right? He would hit big time buckets when we needed them. Tennessee game, for example, if you think back to the Iowa State game, he was hitting some good shots in that game in the second half. But like just the constant throughout the game, I mean, anytime that they were looking to get him the ball, it was basically automatic. And I don't think I've ever seen a player hit 2 bank-in free threes in a row. I mean, just like ridiculous corner threes, just banked both of them in, which at that point, it was kind of like, this might be our day today. But, CBM, I mean, he just continues to impress. And in these type of games where you think that the team's game plan is going to be to go after him, to frustrate him, to be all up in his grill, like he just continues to be the toughest shot maker I think I've seen in a really long time. I mean, a lot of those shots he takes expecting contact, and yet just still hits it. And so I want to give it to CBM, but Miles Kelly, just the fact that he from start to finish was hitting those shots in a game where our best player just, he was kind of non-existent, if we're being honest. Our guard stepped up, and Miles was a big part of that.
It's crazy how many ways this team can beat you. Everyone's talking about how do you guard Broom, the national player of the year potentially here. It's going to be 50-50 with Cooper Flagg over at Duke right now. It wasn't a great performance for Broom on this one, but how do you stop Broom? Do you sell out to stop him and leave the guards open? Do you leave him be and get dominated? Yeah, like do you keep anyway? It's all insane to watch our guards scored 22 points from Chad Baker-Mazar, 30 from Miles Kelly, and 21 from Todd Pettiford. How do you stop this team? And I think the biggest thing I wanted to point out that I think is just going to put this thing over, and we can't give it to the other guys when this is happening. We went 12 of 26, shooting 46% from three. This team did. Here's the rest of the team. Janai Broome, 0 of 2. Chad Baker-Mazar, 1 of 3. Denver Jones, 0 of 1. Chaney Johnson, 0 of 1. Chris Moore, 1 of 1. Todd Pettiford, 1 of 4. Miles Kelly, 9 of 14 from 3. He single-handedly gave us that 3-point game. We would not have been close in this. We could have won maybe still, but the reason, like the shooting, how good our shooting was this game, it was all Miles Kelly. Miles Kelly opened everything up this game and scored 30 points. I didn't think he still had that in him. I was literally thinking about how great a grab at the transfer portal he was. He goes off for 30, I believe, in his first game at Auburn, at least close. And we said, oh my God, we've got somebody incredible. Since then, he's been really, really good. Better than we could have ever expected from the transfer portal. I didn't think he had 30 points like this at Rupp in him. He is my MVP by far.
I hear what you're saying, Jackson. Chris Moore hit 100% of his 3-point shots. We got to give it to him. Simo with 5 points tonight to match that number 5 on his jersey.
Right back to back for Simo. He hits the open 3 and then goes and drives in there, misses, gets his own rebound, puts it in. That was a great 5-point run from Simo, man. You don't get that every day.
I know there was a social media topic on X the past day or two about who would you rather have, Miles Kelly or Bryce Brown?
I saw that. After this one, man, it's a game changer.
What a rebuttal by Mr. Kelly himself.
I think Miles took that personally.
You also wonder what he would do on a team like that 2019 team that didn't have such a dominant center. You know, if it really went through Miles Kelly, because my one argument for Bryce Brown is that he kind of can make those shots for himself, and Miles Kelly hasn't needed to. We haven't asked him to do that. He's just been hitting these open threes or hitting even contested threes. Bryce Brown had to go get his own shots. So now I wonder if Miles Kelly, if you left him in that position, if he'd still be hitting stuff like that. He was just been nice enough not to hit those contested threes and make that pass.
Well, look, it's pretty obvious who the MVP is, and it's just an incredible night on a night when Broome is having a tough go of it. He goes out injured for a little bit. And when you think about us missing Denver Jones for an entire half of basketball, and our guards still combine to score 73 of our 94 points, how do you stop this team, boys?
What's more impressive to you guys? The fact that we scored 94 in Rupp, or the fact that we held Kentucky to 78? You might think that 78's kind of high, but in Rupp, with the way they've done, I think that's what I said, right?
78, and it should have been way less than that, because by the end of that game, we were just having to give up layups because so many guys were in foul trouble that we were just giving them those inside cuts when we were up double digits.
And 24 of those are from the free throw line. 24. They got so many. Sorry, that was 24 for us. 28 of their 78 were from the free throw line. It was ridiculous.
Well, in Kentucky, they run such a good, offense in terms of they give a lot of their players freedoms to do reads, right? And players are cutting when, at certain points, or they're reading where they're going. And we just had them so flustered offensively by our defense that they couldn't read where to pass the ball. 6 turnovers in 6 straight possessions to start the second half was crazy.
That was insane. And tell the full picture on that one too, because so many of those were unforced. There was a pass out of bounds from the baseline, just trying to start the possession, and he just threw it out of bounds. It was insane.
I just think we had them so rattled, and that's the thing. Everyone talks about, well, how's Alabama's gonna hang Alabama's offense. The only team that's really flustered us offensively this year has been Florida. And that's just because I think they went nuclear and they bullied us a little inside and we didn't have an answer. And, would love to see a rematch at some point. Who knows if we'll get that. But Kentucky, any team that's played Kentucky at Kentucky they've hung 100, I believe, on Alabama. Maybe it was right in the 90 range. They hung 100 on Florida. They score at home. And the fact that we just had them to where they couldn't even pass the ball in the second half for the majority of the first part of the second half is crazy. If I had an MVP, a team MVP, it'd be the defense was the MVP of this game, just because we also held them to their least amount of 3-point per field goals all year, and attempts, 3-point attempts, 17. And Kentucky shoot only make it 4 is a crazy number. Ben, you got some for
Profanity
us?
is here in the chat. Profanity is here in the chat. 78 points, but on 74 possessions. That is outstanding defense. Holy cow.
108 against Jackson State, 105 against Georgia State. I'm looking through their schedule here to see how many times they scored. 100 against Florida, 106 against Florida, the number 3 team in the nation. They scored 106 on. They scored a lot of games in the 90s. They scored 97 on Alabama, and Alabama scored 102 on them. So they've definitely, they scored several more and very high. Not as many hundreds as I expected going through their schedule here, but still super impressive to hold them to 78 in their own house.
Yeah, and especially too the fact that we gave up so many offensive defensive rebounds. I mean, 38 to our 23. I mean, it was kind of a weird game in that sense where, they didn't have a lot of second chance opportunities even after their rebounds, and we didn't really offensive rebound that great to begin with anyways. But the turnovers, 18 turnovers, helps negate that in a sense. Typically you're gaining an extra possession, by offensive rebounding the ball, but they would just give it away, and so that negated the rebounding numbers pretty much there at the end. I mean, if you think about it that way, so defense was.
Yeah, we did not talk about the turnovers nearly enough yet. Keep talking about those turnovers, Ryan, because that was insane.
Do you have that box score you could put up, Matt? Sorry, Ben.
That's all right. Everybody thinks I'm Matt when I'm running the broadcast.
18.
There's 2 Matts and I'm confused.
Oh, I'm on Matt too.
we're all Matt today.
Usually I change that. 18 to 8.
We got 2 Matts. We didn't have a broadcast. We're folks. It's off the rails here. It's off the rails.
We're just like the ESPN broadcast. This is better than the ESPN broadcast, guys. We can do everything wrong and still be better than them. But 18 turnovers for Kentucky, 8 for us. And it's been like that all year long that we've had less than 10 turnovers per game. I don't know what our average is, but don't take that for granted because it hasn't always been like that.
And don't forget, we held Kentucky without a basket for 10 straight minutes. They went their opening 6 possessions of the second half without even getting a shot up. We forced 6 turnovers to start the second half. I mean, our defensive effort was just absolutely on another level. It was incredible. And to think with doing that without our defensive leader, Denver Jones, out there is something else that's just remarkable to see. I mean, we definitely missed having Denver in the game tonight, but you can just see how much this team is bigger than any one player. Janai Broom has a bad offensive night. Our guards score 70. Denver Jones can't play the second half. Doesn't matter. We're still locking them up after learning from his example. I mean, just immaculate basketball all the way around. I can't think of a better way to finally break the Rupp curse than by doing it in this dominant of a fashion with our best team ever.
What's also, losing Denver in that sense, and earlier in the year, I think that would have been a bigger miss, in terms of on our defensive side of the ball. Shout out to Todd Pettiford. I mean, he has worked on his defense all year long. That's been obviously a big focal point, a weakness coming in this year that I think a lot of teams expose. Duke exposed that, through mismatches and him switching, which, was a big topic of conversation at the end of that Duke game. He had a great defensive game for the amount of minutes he had to play. And he works really hard at that, from what I can tell, from what just the progression that he's had throughout this whole year. There was one possession in the first half where he had essentially beaten Lamont Butler to the spot, and Lamont ended up dribbling it off his foot. And obviously it was our ball after that. But it was at that point I was like, man, he is knowing where to be at the right place at the right time, like Denver. Like, he's stopping and beating guys to the point to where it's either a foul offensively, or they're turning it over, or they're having to bring it back out. And I think that's huge growth on his end, and testament to him as a player and as someone who wants to grow and develop his game, that he has developed that throughout the year defensively. So that's a huge part of the game tonight, the fact that Denver went out and Todd really stepped up in that sense.
And let's not forget how far we've come. JP Pegues was supposed to be the starting point guard on this team. And Denver Jones and Todd Pettiford had to adjust to play this role and have gotten so good at what they do. I mean, even Denver stepped up to how it's supposed to be a shooting guard. He's stepped up. It's really insane. They're trying to back him down. They can't back him down. It's been impressive.
Yeah, and we've got great news from Justin Hokinson here on X. Bruce Pearl says point guard Denver Jones has a bone bruise. not even close to season ending. It was just one of those precautionary things. You know, these soft tissue injuries can be so nagging. And we were up double digits at the half. We stayed up double digits throughout the entire second half. That was some great gamesmanship by Bruce to make sure that we don't put Denver out there unless we absolutely need him to get him that rest. And again, hats off to Tahad Pettiford. This is a freshman and 18-year-old kid coming in and playing 33 minutes in a place where these jerseys have not won in 38 years, not backing down from the challenge, hitting his free throws, playing outstanding defense. I mean, I wish we had more trophies to give out.
He was in a bit of a rut too, so it was, I think maybe giving him these additional minutes actually kind of got him in the groove, which was really nice. The injury to Denver was really strange. It wasn't, anything that I think any of us were really concerned about. Literally, when it happened, I said, I think he just kind of got kicked. He might have just like knocked knees. He'll probably be back in this next possession. No, he left, went to the locker room, didn't come back. I think maybe he could have played if we need him to. Luckily, we kept that lead going the entire time and let Pettiford stay out there. Luckily, Pettiford's this good and has progressed this much. I mean, we knew from the start that this guy was a scorer. This guy could play. We didn't know always that he was going to be this great of a point guard. Great too that we didn't have to play JP. I thought for sure if Denver was going to be out, he would do a couple minutes here and there to take Tahad off. But Todd's played that well, and they trusted him that much on the road in Rupp, and we kept the lead to a good enough spot, and he didn't get into foul trouble till near the end, and everyone got in the foul trouble at one point. We had 4 fouls on Tahad, 4 on CBM, 4 on Dylan Cardwell. Of course, it just feels like Dylan cannot help himself in Rupp but to get those fouls, or any of the big men really. 3 on Jaheim Hudson, who just collected them crazy fast. Chaney had 3. Janai Broom had 3. Rupp was classic. Bruce Pearl, before the game even started, a day or two before, said, we are not going to get the foul calls in Rupp. That's just how it is, and they're going to get the foul calls. So just got to play through it, and luckily we're that good of a team that it didn't matter.
Dylan Cardwell collected 4 fouls tonight, but he also collected the crown as the winningest Auburn basketball player of all time. With tonight's win, he officially passes Jalen Williams for the title.
Shout out to the King, man. It's been really cool to see him throughout his entire career. I don't know what we're going to do next year, man. We've seen a Dylan Cardwell, Janai Broom for so long.
Let's just
I don't know what a normal center looks like. These are my guys.
Don't think about it. Don't even think about it. Let's enjoy the moment.
I'm with Ryan. Let's stay here. Let's stay with this team. Let's stay with this incredible season that we're having here. And so many of these guys making history. It's just so well deserved. I mean, you think about all of the adversity that this team has gone through this season, from Plaingate to JP not panning out to Jakai walking off the court. I mean, this team has seen a lot of crazy stuff pop up and try to distract them. Janai Broom's injury. We had another injury tonight that could have very easily derailed this game for us, losing one of our best on-ball defenders. And this team continues to rise up, find new and exciting ways to win. I'm so excited for March, and I'm so ready for this Texas A&M game. I circled it as my game to watch. If we can go into College Station and win that game, that is just one more step showing you this team is ready for March. They're ready to win anywhere, anyway, anyhow.
It's also really interesting because we're talking about Tahad. I want to spotlight him just one more second here. I truly believe he plays better on the road in neutral site. Like, the slump that he had was at home. Like, and every time he plays at home, he's barely getting like 10 points, 9 points. Like, on the road, I think he just relishes in being an underdog, or having that mentality. But the fact that he, Lamont Butler, I know he's not probably 100% healthy, but the fact that he was guarded by him, who was known as this defensive, guard coming out of San Diego State, went to the national championship game, all this stuff, and just had 0 turnovers and really played a great game, commanding the game, getting the ball moving on offense. I can't be more excited for him and putting up those type of numbers, 8 or 9 from the free throw on the road as a freshman. He's in like the perfect position as a freshman point guard. Really, Bruce brought him in as a shooting guard. I think that was his main goal at the beginning of the year. He always talked about it, and he got his hand forced to play him at point guard, which I always felt like was his best position anyways. But I could see where they want to try to make it work with him at a shooting guard. I bet he plays really well off the ball too. But just the fact that he is a perfect fit for this team with all the seniors, all the older guys, and you just got guys like, hey, I'm fresh. Let me just go out there and ball. Like that is so much of an advantage for him
We've
in this
needed a
type of
guy.
system.
We've needed a guy like him for a while. He takes it to the next level because he's a playmaker. And how many times have we had like into shot clocks? Like it just happens to every team. You know, something gets messed up in the offense. The first couple looks aren't there, and you ends up with your point guard with like 10 seconds left on the clock, and you just need to make a play. Tahad's gonna make a play. He does it over and over again. He's either gonna shoot something in your face and hit it, or he's gonna drive the ball and make a play, or make a great pass at the same time. And we just have not necessarily had that. I mean, good point guards, decent point guards we've had in the past, but not anywhere near this
Yeah.
level that is going to make a play either passing or shooting. I mean, it just wasn't going to happen with the last couple ones.
And he's a lefty that's just as good with his right hand. Like all the floaters he makes are with his right hand, and it's just ridiculous. Like he's utterly ridiculous, and I can't wait to see him come tournament time, because those type of players they're needed at this time of the year. Go get a basket for us, go make a play, stop a run. Like you need run stoppers, and he's one of those guys who's a run stopper.
How many lefties do we have?
A lot, not as many as last year, but Janai's a lefty, Tahad is a lefty, and I believe
Isn't CBM a lefty
Miles
too?
is lefty.
CBM's lefty. Miles
Kelly?
righty.
Yeah, that's still crazy. I mean, and those three you named too, they finish in such odd ways that I feel like I wonder how much that plays into it. That they just teams are not used to it. You have to remind yourself that like you're playing against a lefty that's going to be dominant over there when it's usually the offhand. Mr. Beautiful in the chat said Matt Donaldson won't like hearing that Dylan surpassed Jalen. Oh man, Matt, I'm sorry that your boy has been passed here by the king, the jumbotron man himself, Dylan Cardwell. But it couldn't be to a better player, a guy that's really shown a lot of Auburn spirit over the years. So just big shout out to him. I noticed a funny little one. I know this is off the radar a bit here, but Shaheem Hudson, 3 minutes, 3 fouls. Is that right? Did he foul like every minute of the game he was in?
Literally every minute on a defensive rebound he fouled.
Glad we have him as a backup in there.
That's why I said he was unplayable. He went in there and was trying to junkyard dog it, but unlike Chris Moore, he doesn't elevate as well. He's just stronger than a lot of guys, and he was trying to lean on that, and he kept getting called for it. I mean, he was getting that Rupp whistle.
After all that positivity, it's not even negative really. I wonder if your thoughts on this. Jani Broome was just off tonight. He had like an air ball 3. There was a couple moves he made that were just, the shots were not going in. It didn't look great. We thought we may see him have like a huge resurgence in the second half because he scored 0 points in the first half. So he thought, all right, classic second half Jani, he's going to come in. Still scored 9 points in the second half, which is good. But his shot just seemed off after all this talk that he's healthy again and really playing well. He still looked healthy to me. I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts on it. Was he getting doubled and I missed it? Was he, there's so much of the footage I didn't get to see that I don't know if that was the plan, take Broome away and we just made him pay with the guards. Was it just a bad night from Broome? What do you guys think?
I mean, I think teams, that match up well, that have, Amaris Williams is a big body and a good center. And I think, I don't really know if our game plan was to get Janai the ball a lot. I think we had a little bit of an advantage at the guard position, which is why I think we shot so well tonight, in terms of our ball movement and just, I think he kind of struggles sometimes when teams make us get him the ball on the block and make us clear out to where it's just him against a big body. When we're moving him around the floor and we are getting him away from the basket, running plays to move him around, I think that's when Janai's at his best because we expose some mismatches. We get him the ball in the right spots. That first half, we weren't really getting the ball in the right spots but like once or twice because we were shooting so well. We were shooting a lot of shots. And so the fact that we possibly had a different game plan and, he just wasn't getting his good looks or whatever, and still, we're up by what we were at halftime is just incredible in my opinion. But it's definitely something to watch. It's something, when it comes time for March and matchups, I think Florida had a similar tight game plan for him. And we just didn't shoot the ball that well, that game or that first half, and they went nuclear. So it just was an off night. Like players have it, he wasn't finishing well around the rim. My only concern about it moving forward is like we've seen in 2 or 3 games this year when he has these type of games, he really shrugs those shoulders. I think that's just the Janai that gives and takes away. Um, when it comes time to a win or go home type game, I don't think he's going to have that attitude. At least I hope not. The whole game tonight, I was thinking like, we're going to have a second half Janai. We're going to have second half Janai because there've been a lot of games this year earlier on in the year where he would come out and he would have a 2 or 3 or 4 point first half and then go off for 18 in the second half. We didn't need that tonight. Like we gave him the ball a few times. He got to the basket. He got the free throw line. But it was just an off night. I don't think there's anything to look into it. I think he'll come back against Texas A&M and have a big game.
I agree with Ryan. It's a matchup problem. That was why he was our player to watch going into this game. Kentucky's a big, long team, just like Florida is. The big stat that jumps out to me is Janai Broome only having 1 assist tonight. And that's part of Florida's length, having the ability to clog those passing lanes. Usually Janai is our inside out guy. Tonight, we actually worked our way outside in. Janai Broome did have a more effective second half. I believe he was 2 of 7 from the floor in the first half. He finished the game 6 of 10. So he was able to get to the block a little bit with that back down, go to that right shoulder. But it was a quiet night for him because he didn't need to force it. We surrounded him with shooters in this offseason specifically for games like this. And there's only going to be a few tournament teams that we're going to match up against that have a really true athletic 7-foot center in the same way that Kentucky does with an Amari Williams. So I'm a little bit in disagreement with Brian. I say if you're Janai Broome, burn the tape on this one, keep getting healthy, and then just go back and play your game.
There's a couple big stats to go through here that are interesting that might tell a little more story of the game here. We held them to 24% from the 3-point line, which is huge. We were really locking teams down from there. This is a great shooting team. I believe they're number 1 in the nation on offense. To hold them to 24% from 3 is huge. We had 46%. We already talked about how Miles Kelly was a huge portion of that. Let's see, turnovers. They had 18 turnovers to our 8. Huge. And on top of that, we made them pay 21 points off turnovers to their 9. They won the rebounding battle. I believe Ryan touched on that. They were getting a lot of rebounds, 38-23. Offensive, that it's sometimes, man, when you're scored, when you've got a guy like Miles Kelly hitting 3-pointers, it covers up a lot of mistakes. I mean, a lot of other nights, losing the offensive rebound battle 12-5 would sink us. But because we were shooting so well, it kind of covers up those mistakes, which is great. They had 16 second chance points to our 9. Classic bench points, 29-5. We dominate that almost always every night. They beat us in points in the paint, 34-26. Surprisingly, we beat them in fast break points, 22-10. I guess a lot of that's points off turnovers probably, but that's not been a strong suit for us all year. But I don't know if there's any stats you guys really want to dig into there, but I think there's some interesting ones.
Well, Jackson, I hate to correct you live on air, but your Auburn Tigers have the number 1 offense in America. Still, we are at the top of KenPom in our offensive rating. Kentucky 6th, so they're up there.
What was
they're
I thinking? I can't believe I said that.
The SEC. Auburn is number 1, Duke is number 2, but then the next 4, Alabama, Florida, Missouri, Kentucky. That is 4 of the top 6 offenses are in the SEC, and it's 4 of the top 5 if you consider that we can't play ourselves. Kentucky has the number 6 overall offense, but they have the number 62 overall defense. So, Ryan's big thing on the podcast lately has been, stop asking us how we're going to guard these amazing offensive teams. How are they going to guard us? How are they going to guard us?
It's insane that I even made that mistake after all this, and I want to continue to tell Auburn fans not to get spoiled and understand we're the number 1 offense in the nation. Even I was like, you forget, but scoring 94 in Rupp is huge, and I can't believe I forgot that.
Ben, you're so right. That's been my whole thing all year. It's like, well, how are they going to stop Alabama? How are they going to stop Kentucky? How are they going to stop this? And I'm like, guys, they got to stop us. Today was just a prime example of how we can beat you in so many different ways. I mean, how many other games this year where Miles Kelly had only 3 points, 4 points, but yet there was another guy, Denver Jones, that would have 20 or 22, or Chaney Johnson. Chaney was a ghost today, but yet there's some games, that Vanderbilt game comes to mind. Chaney goes and has a 9-0 run to himself. You pick your poison. Pick your poison with this team. They picked, hey, we're not going to let Janai beat us. Instead, we're going to have 3 guards hang multiple 20-point, 130-point. You just can't stop us. You really can't.
And Jackson, you've been on this all year talking about how bad our fast break offense has been. We turn teams over. We've been winning the turnover battle a ton. We did it against Ole Miss for the first time all year. We did it against Kentucky in a big way, but tonight was one of those rare nights where we made them pay for turning the ball over. Those open court layups, those steals where we just drive down and get a foul called and go to the free throw line. We've been missing that at the beginning of the year. So talking about how this team is going to accelerate through March, seeing this, man, it's a big positive sign for me. We're taking another step.
We win the turnover. We don't usually cause 18 turnovers, but we win the turnover battle a lot because we don't turn the ball over, which we're great at. We're always under 10 pretty much, which is great. Profanity says Auburn is not only the highest rate offense this season, but they've been the highest ranked offense in the Kim Pom era, which is since 1998. Insane, guys. Don't forget how good this team is. I even keep forgetting. We just gotten so used to how good of a shooting team this is, how good under the basket in the paint with Jai Broom this is. It's historic. And that's what kills me when people like Jay Billis and other people at ESPN are not talking about it like it's a historic team. If we were Kentucky, Duke, UConn, any of these other teams, they would be putting us up against these amazing historic teams. Because we're Auburn, they're just like, yeah, I guess so. I guess that statistically that's correct. Like, no, we are one of the best teams in college basketball history. Every stat says it. So start talking about it that way.
I mean, look, we're hamstrung by a couple of things. One of our best teams ever got eliminated by COVID. There was no SEC tournament that year. There was no March Madness that year. You know, we had an amazing team last year that set the record or tied the record for double-digit wins and then went out in the first round after winning the SEC tournament. So we're still, as a program, in that prove-it era. And if this team can somehow do it, if this team can cut down the nets in March, they will become one of the teams that the rest of history becomes compared to, because you were so right, Jackson. We are doing so many historic things, so many things that defy the way that they measure statistics. Wendell Green Jr. and I talked about this in our interview, man. Greatness, and the mark of it is that nothing before you resembles you and everything after you is compared to you. And that is going to be this team, not just for Auburn, but for all of college basketball.
Let's revel in a little history here. Yeah, that's what I want to do a bit on this pod. We gotta enjoy it when we're in the golden era of Auburn basketball. We've been talking about that for years now. Ben, where were you at in 1988? What were you up to? What were you getting into?
I was somewhere in, I believe, South Carolina at the time, swimming around inside of my dad.
Well, Ryan,
for that
where were you in
moment to come.
Where were you in 1988? What job did you have? Like, were you in school? What was your deal in 1988?
I think I was, kind of like Ben, but Montgomery, Alabama, probably.
I just try to remember where I was in 1988. It just feels like twinkle in my dad's eye. I don't like.
Well,
nobody
Jackson,
on this podcast was alive in 1988. We were all grown men, some of us with children on this podcast, and we have never in our lifetime experienced a win by Auburn basketball in Rupp Arena. And even today, I didn't get to experience it on TV. But we'll do one step at a time here. I just want to put the context there. Entire lifetime.
There's a funny tweet out there that says, y'all haven't seen us lose. Kentucky really said, y'all hadn't seen us lose to Auburn in this building in 37 years. And you ain't going to see it today either.
I think my favorite other tweet was, man, no Auburn fans were alive to see Auburn win in Rupp, except for our current roster of players. Because they're all so old, apparently.
37
That's been a big
years,
knock against
man.
all week.
The world has changed so dramatically in that time. The USSR was still alive back then. That still existed. How many countries existed back then that don't exist anymore? How many presidents were alive? What musicians are gone? What movies were, you can't see anymore?
Listen, I didn't want to jinx it. I didn't want to jinx it because I did this for the Florida game last time. But Jackson, vamp for a few minutes. I'm going to bring up some facts from the 80s, from 1988, so we can talk about just how historic this win was.
Well, look, I want to talk about real quick. There was a post-game interview that had Tahad and Miles Kelly, in a press conference. Miles Kelly, end quote, said, "This is why I come to Auburn." Tahad Pettifer said, "This is why I came here to win." These guys wanted to come in here and absolutely do what I think, a lot of us were hoping at the beginning of the year. It's like, well, I think we're going to be good, but, all these other teams, got all these great transfers. We rebuilt, we got the guys that we needed down low with Janai and Dylan. Those guys made it work. We brought in guys like Miles Kelly, big guard, we've been asking for big guards for how long? For years. You know, Todd Pettiford, a five-star freshman. You know, teams built their teams by five-star freshmen by high school recruiting, which is probably going by the wayside. I mean, even Rick Pitino said, shout out Vice. Rick Pitino said, I'm not even recruiting high school this year. Like the older you get, the better you are. And I've been saying for a couple years now that I truly think that we're trying to get older by just having one or two freshmen come in here and you can plug it in, you can play. And Todd Pettiford is one of those guys. Miles Kelly saw the opportunity to come in as a big time guard in the ACC and contribute to a potential championship team. And he did that. He did that today, you know, hanging 30. I think we're not done seeing a Miles Kelly like game like this. You know, you got to have one or two of these games in March. Today was just a perfect prime example of that on March 1st. You know, to see that within the tournament because you got to have guys go off like this. And I think we got the perfect mix of, hey, we could beat you down low if we have a disadvantage at the guard position. Oh, or you got a couple of big guys, we'll kick it outside and we'll beat you there. And it's just like a perfect combination for a team that I think can win multiple different ways going into March. You know, I hope you all left your cookies out last night for John Rothstein and your popcorn for John Fanta because it's March 1st, ladies and gentlemen, and we're entering in to the third part of the season, in my opinion. There's four parts of the season. The second part's almost done, which is this crazy thing about we're entering in the third part, which is March, and um, today was just a great primer for that. Ben, go ahead.
Well said. Well said, Ryan Storm and Norman. The best picture winner in 1988, The Last Emperor. The number one
I've never
song.
even heard of it. I've never even heard of that movie. And I'm a big movie guy. And like that's how long ago this was.
You'll have heard of this one. The number one song in 1998 or 1988 that premiered, Faith by George Michael. Guess how much you could get a dozen eggs for in 1988? That's a big topic in the news right now. 79 cents. I went to the grocery store in New York today, $12 for a dozen eggs. A gallon of gas cost 90 cents in 1988. The number one show was the soap opera The Young and the Restless, and some movies that premiered that year: The Last Temptation of Christ, Gorillas in the Mist, Mississippi Burning, and the original film adaptation of Hairspray. That is how long it has been since Auburn has won in Rupp Arena.
A Big Mac cost $1.60. That's the Big Mac index, you know.
Good one.
Auburn
good
tuition.
Stats.
Auburn tuition. That's a huge one for people on this podcast. 1988. This will, anyways. I don't want to get political, but
hey, let me
$1,300. $1,300 in 1988. Or if you're out of state,
is that per semester?
I don't know. Undergrad full-time tuition and fees. That's what this called. Annual undergraduate full-time tuition was $1,300 in 1988. 4,000 if you were out of state. And I don't know what minimum wage was, but I don't think it's probably changed that much since then, sadly. But everything else has.
Let me bring up a good point. Drawing it back into to current day basketball here.
Was the 3-point line invented in 19? When was the 3-point line brought into college basketball?
Oh my god.
Probably right around then. But let's bring it back to current present day. Cam's Current in the chat brought up a really good point. He said it was great. It was a great shooting performance today, and a good test because as it stands right now, we are slated to play back in that building the first two rounds of the NCAA tournament. So what a good what a good test there to see how we shoot in a venue like that going into the tournament, which is where we're probably going to play our first two rounds, which I think is a great advantage. Honestly, going back into a building that you shot at before. Typically, a lot of these places are like a hockey arena or a coliseum at a city that like hosts maybe one or two games a year. So great point by Cam's Current there in the chat saying we're probably going to be back there and winning today. I'm not going to say like solidifies us going there, but I mean we're going to have to lose like our last 4 games a year to.
So just before anybody accuses the Jungle Auburn podcast of not knowing ball, You guys are actually pretty close. 1986, 1987 was the first season with a 3-point line.
Three-point
Yeah,
line was brand new.
I said right around there. You know, I
That's
looked in
Yeah, yeah.
general. I looked in general.
crazy. A 3-point line was brand new. People were just figuring it out in 1988.
And
Someone
now they're
else in the
calling it
chat,
the Miles Kelly line.
someone else in the chat said it was another decade before semesters even happened at Auburn. You couldn't pay by the semester for another decade after 1988. Insane stuff, man. Yeah, that's what I wanted to revel on a little bit was the 1988 Kentucky. Part of that was I was joking that we needed to blow up Beardy's to break the curse, but the curse is now broken, guys. There's nothing like that. Might be our last big. I don't know. Maybe you guys have some other ones, but I feel like that's the last big thing in my opinion that he hasn't done yet. Say, Ben, what
Winning
you
in
got?
Gainesville. Winning in Gainesville is the only other one. We haven't won in Gainesville, I believe, since 93 or something like that. I've got to go back and look at the graphic that we whipped up for that one.
I didn't realize
But
it was that
Gainesville's
bad.
another one of those ones. It's 20 years plus of not having won there.
Well,
Whoa.
folks, let's
Yeah,
talk about real quick.
Well,
the
I wanted
fact
to.
that- Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Jackson.
Well, I wanted to make sure I reveled real quick about the SEC championship.
That's what I was
too.
going to get into.
Ah, I should have let
Perfect.
you
Look,
go. Sorry,
Jackson,
I thought you were
let him
moving on
cook.
to that.
Let him
I
cook.
thought you were
Look,
moving
we got
on.
two Matt Donaldsons on here and one Ryan Norman. Let Ryan cook.
Go ahead, Ryan. Tell us how important this SEC championship, how historic, how insane it is from what we were pre-Bruce Pearl.
I mean, look, the fact I can't even put into words just like how incredible this is and how dominant we've been all year, and the fact that we clinched this with 2 games left, 3 games left now. I mean, everyone talked about at the beginning of this year, oh, the SEC is going to be this. We're going to have to, it's going to come down to the last game of the year. Folks, we clinched a share, hopefully an all-out title today, with 2 games left. That is incredible. In his most historic league, conference league in history ever.
Yeah, they're talking about getting 14 teams potentially into the dance because we have 12 teams that are inside the top 80 in KenPom right now. And LSU is right there on that border. I believe they were the ones who just dropped below that. That is an insanely deep league. We had 3 SEC regular season titles before Bruce's arrival. We now have 3 in the last 8 years. I mean, you talk about golden era of college basketball. We are in it, baby.
Yeah, and in some of those years, we just decided, hey, let's just go win the tournament title anyways. You know, 2019 and then last year, we didn't win the conference, but we just went ahead and just won the tournament championship instead. So we're just hanging banners almost every year, and that's something that was not even a possibility or a thought previous, 2017, honestly, when we first hung our first conference title, our shared title that year with Tennessee. But we were projected that year to be 4-14 in 2017. I don't know if you remember the shirts they had printed. We went out and beat Tennessee at home that first game, and we're like, all right, we got a team here. And at that point forward, it was on. After that, we get our next one, with Jabari's year. That year, that team, a historic team, honestly. Obviously, they didn't get it done in March, but just a historic team in the fact that they got a #1 ranking for the first time since '99. They had 2 draft picks in the first round. I don't think we ever had that. Multiple in the first round ever. And really laid the stone of, if you want to come to Auburn and win, come on, we're here. We could get 5-star players. We can get transfers. That got a guy like Jani Broom in here because he saw, okay, Walker Kessler came in here as a transfer. He's a first-round draft pick. I mean, Jani Broom, his growth and development over the past 2 years, the fact that we almost won the conference title last year, regular season, but then went to the tournament and did that in terms of hanging a banner and winning a title there, and then coming back and being a National Player of the Year candidate and winning the regular season conference championship in the toughest conference ever is just it's an incredible story of where we came from in 2014 on, 11 years now. I really hope people are enjoying this, reveling in the fact that this team and what we're doing now may never happen again because it's so hard. It's so hard to consistently do this. I mean, all it takes is one coaching change, one player getting hurt, won this, won that. What's up, Devin Cambridge on the screen? Yeah,
Oh, is this still broadcasting?
It
Hold
was
on.
it was
yeah.
player.
Oh,
It was
there's Devin
I'm
Cambridge
trying.
knocking
I'm
on
trying to
three.
it
find. I'm
was
trying to find a. I'm trying to find the image for the graphic. That's my B, guys.
it just reminds me of like how many little steps it took. Like I was
Yeah,
there at the airport jumping around with Bruce
me and
Pearl
you
when he
both.
came in.
Me and you
Yeah,
both.
dude,
We
ran
rode
into each
together.
other. Yeah.
Yeah.
We man, it's just been insane, like beyond our wildest dreams. And me and Ryan and even Ben and Matt to a certain extent, even though y'all are a year or two older than us, but like the last generation of students to not have this, to understand
Oh
how
wait, sorry.
bad Auburn basketball has been and just in the dirt. And if you cared at all, you were kind of weird. You were kind of an Auburn obsessive. If you even knew what was going on with the basketball team, if you even like went out of your way to walk across campus to go to a game, you were kind of one of those like sports fanatics. And now people are camping out for it in tents. People are like paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get in a game. They're traveling across the Southeast just to experience it. They're bringing their kids so they can see this like golden era. And it took little steps, little bitty steps. We had to start off by not even talking to the recruits. Bruce Pearl would have to be like, oh, because he was still in trouble or whatever with NCAA. I remember like they were trying to recruit kids, but they were not allowed to. Bruce was not allowed to talk to them for a while. There was a couple like semi-big at the time, what felt like semi-big recruits that had to commit to us without ever talking to Bruce
Horace
Pearl.
Spencer was one of them.
Was that one of them? They had
Yeah.
to like, be like, yeah, I haven't talked to Bruce. It's not allowed, but like I know once I do, it's gonna be great. Like little guys like Kareem Canty to beat Kentucky at home and storm the court were huge. The guys like Simeon Bowers that by today's standards are just like would not fit in, but we needed little guys like that along the way. Someone like who was the guy that was on the SEC regular season that left for St. John's? Mustafa Heron, just guys like that to break these barriers of like, hey, come here and you can do this. And then you go to Jared Harper and Bryce Brown to show that this team can go to a Final Four. A Walker Kessler to come over in the transfer portal, Jabari Smith to come and be an NBA draft lottery pick. Like it's just taking these little steps to get us there to where we have such a monster team right now. And we've adapted along the way. I'm such a pessimistic Auburn fan at times, and we've been so behind in so many things at times at Auburn. We don't usually push the envelope a lot of the time. To change this much, the NIL era and the transfer portal era, and have all these weird little things with the Sharif Cooper situation that happened a long time ago. Like it's just been nonstop progress, despite so many times where it could have not been. COVID got in our way. Like I don't think the national world understands how much this progress has been step by step by step, even against the odds. We've just kept stepping up every single year. And now you can win the regular SEC championship this year in the hardest conference maybe of all time, with maybe the one of the best teams of all time, with one of the best offenses in the Kim Pom era. Like people were just like, yep, okay. And it's not okay. Yeah. It's insane that we're doing this kind of thing. And we really got to think about it. And people younger than us are never going to get it. They're never going to get how bad Auburn was and how insane, like in my dreams, this would be.
Yeah, and people are they got bored with Auburn the past few games. I think today was a reminder of just like, hey, we're here. Hello. We just beat a Kentucky.
I don't know. We got pretty excited after that Ole Miss game because it was so nice to see us finally put together two good offensive halves after struggling against teams that were fighting for their tournament lives. But Kentucky was another one of those teams. This is a team who was fighting for seeding, trying to get to that maybe 4 or 5 line, get off a little higher up so they have some easier matchups. And man, did they blow it tonight with all the turnovers, with the inability to run us off the 3-point line. It feels so good to watch this team live up to its potential and destroy people.
Yeah, I think people got bored just in the fact that we barely beat Arkansas. We barely beat Georgia. Like those are games that you would think or have in your mind like, oh, we should win by 20 or so. But ho hum. Auburn's trying to get the march. In the past 2 games, we're playing ranked opponents. Teams that are definitely going to be in March, and we said, hey, hello, we're still here. You did a nice job summarizing that, Jack.
I forgot 2 players. I don't want to forget. Austin Wiley, thank you for coming. Your parents went to Auburn, and you broke through as this like getting a great center and coming in. Chumo Kiki, thanks for breaking through and showing that we can like have an NBA style player and develop them and put them in the lottery. Like, there's just so many guys. Like, I feel like we really gotta like go through some of the. You guys shout out some other stuff if you want. Some coaches that have been here. Like, it's taken everybody to get to us to the point. Like the Nevilles for buying in and giving us funding so that we can do this kind of thing.
I think you summarized it nicely. I mean, I think where we really saw where this program could go was that 2016 win against Kentucky. I was at that game. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was like, okay, we could now. Granted, all the Kentucky fans would be like, well, that was one of our down years, all this stuff. But like, it's still like to us, like you guys had 5-star fresh. You guys were the Kentucky still. You know, that was a game I think that one, and in 2017, 2018, when we had Jared Harper, is the Anthony McLemore injury year. Like that was a year that I think we really showed like, hey, we're here to stay. And we beat Kentucky at home on a a Tuesday night, a Super Tuesday night, and really helped solidify our championship that run that year. But I think you summarized it nicely with some of those key players like a Kareem Canty, like a Mustafa Heron, Austin Wiley, D'Angelo Purefoy was one of those guys too. Like, those type of players that we could get in here that we'd never gotten before. All, let me express this, all while Under Armour, where shoe deals and shoe stuff really was still a big deal. And obviously that kind of goes out the door a little bit. It helps going to Nike next year. People, aren't talking about that enough. Like, we're going to be a Nike team next year. Now, in the NIL days,
and we know for sure now that Nike and Adidas were bribing players hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to schools. Shout out to what was that, Kansas and Louisville that had that going on.
Kansas
That's the kind of stuff.
Flory Badunga from us.
And then nothing happened to them. It's insane. The stuff we had to go through too, with the FBI investigation, with the Sharif Cooper incident, with Bruce Pearl coming in with a show cause on him, like all of that on top of what we've had to do here. It took longer than it should have had to, really, because of all that ridiculousness that other teams have never had to deal with and still don't deal with because they just deny. And we as Auburn we weren't that blue blood team that could just deny and say, hey, screw you guys. We had to deal with all that on top of everything.
Yeah, and that year when all that happened, and we had to sit out Wiley and Purefoy, we went and won the SEC championship 2 men down. Like that's when I was like,
it felt like we almost got smothered in our crib, right? It felt like we almost got like extinguished before this thing could even get started. Like people don't remember this could have been all done. Like we would have been dreaming if that had gotten extinguished at the time. If I think one of our ADs rumored that they were thinking about firing Bruce at one point because of this stuff. Like imagine we would just have been imagining what if. This is the what if that no one would ever have believed that we could have gotten to.
I mean, I remember like it was yesterday. D'Angelo Purefoy, Austin Wiley were sitting on the bench. We were playing in an exhibition game, Barry University. I don't know if y'all remember this. Barry University, and they beat us. And that was the year that people started to question, is Bruce really the guy here? Like, because we had all that happen. We lose an exhibition game to a D2 school. People started canceling their season tickets. I'm not going to name a name, but one of my good friends started canceling.
I almost said the same thing. Okay.
You know who I'm talking about.
Can you imagine this? I remember being like, hey, I don't blame you, man. You buy in. He bought in fully, just like you. He went to Vegas with you at the beginning of that. Bought in fully. Just for that to come down.
This is funny.
Just for that to come down. I don't blame it at all because it felt so down in the dumps.
It was dark. It was dark.
We'd all bought in. We had the hope. The hope was finally there. We finally had some hope in this sport for the NCAA to bring the hammer down on us. And at that time, it felt so serious in college sports when the NCAA puts their eye on you. And it was at the time. And now it seems so freaking goofy, all this stuff compared to what we had to deal with. But anyway, sorry, I had to say that.
But a lot of people did that. A lot. And you're right. We don't blame them. I think that was the year that we came out and we were shorthanded, but he showed what he could do with a couple of good players and some good pieces. And, we went on that run and won the SEC championship that year. Obviously, the Anthony McLemore injury hurt us for the NCAA tournament. But just moving forward, the momentum has not stopped since then. It has not stopped. I always go back to that moment against Barry University because BU3 is what we used to call them on like different message boards because they were just hitting threes left and right, and that was an eye opener. But you know, we as Auburn fans get hurt sometimes by our performances on the road, and how we do in the SEC on the road, or especially over the past couple years, even dating back to like 2019. We would go to Ole Miss and get blown out. We would go to Vandy and get blown out. This team is undefeated on the road in the toughest SEC conference ever. One at Kentucky, one at Vanderbilt, one at Alabama,
Alabama.
one at
Don't
Georgia.
you forget them, Ryan Storben Norman.
Yeah, sorry. One
Historic game, number 1 versus number 2.
Yeah, one
Historic.
at Alabama, where we haven't won in the past 3 years since Jabari Walker Kessler. Um, you know, won our clunkers on the road against South Carolina, against LSU.
Without Janai Broom.
Yeah, without Jedi Broom at Georgia, where Kentucky had lost previously, where Georgia was ranked. Like, it's just, I hope people are taking us or stepping back and understanding just like how incredible this year has been because we may never see it again. We may retool and be back up at the top of the conference next year, but you just never know. You never, never, ever know. Missouri, for example, a couple years ago, went on had a good team, went to the semifinals of the SEC conference tournament, had a win in March, and then went 0-18 the next year. Like, with basically the same team. You just never know. And then obviously they retool and now they're good this year. But like, obviously I don't think it's gonna happen to us. But like the fact that they're talking about this is maybe one of the best teams ever, I just hope that we as fans appreciate that because in college basketball world, these things come and go with the snap of a finger.
And Ryan, it looks like the fans are definitely appreciating that. We got over 21 people here in the live stream right now, checking us out, watching this. If you haven't had a chance to listen to our interview with Coach Tom Parks from Casper College, he's going to give you a quick glimpse into just how bright the future is for us. We're bringing in the top JUCO prospect in America, who just last night had another 46 point, 9 assists, 7 rebound game. This dude is getting 9 assists, and half of his team are college soccer players right now. Those guys are still suspended. And today they played with 6 scholarship guys and 3 soccer players on that team. We're going to have another amazing interview for you on Monday with Wendell Green Jr., the point guard from our SEC championship team in 2022, a chance to reflect on how far this program has come and just how amazing this season is. I mean, you can believe Wendell on the other side of the ocean is not taking for granted how good this basketball team is and how far Auburn has come as a program. So stick with the Jungle Auburn podcast. We're bringing you the content to enjoy this magical run.
Yeah, and I love how we got Wendell because it just embodies our culture and our program. And the fact that we don't get these high profile guys every single year, like a Kansas or someone like that. Like we're getting guys from the A-Sun, like Wendell Green Jr. We're getting guys from College of Charleston, like Zep Jasper, from
The Ohio Valley.
FIU with Denver Jones, Morehead State with Janai Broom. Like we're getting guys that have a good work mentality of like we see the potential you have. Let's build you up. And it's so much. I don't think people recognize that enough. Like Indiana, for example, and Kansas State both had some of the most expensive rosters this offseason by bringing in guys from other top programs, and they're failing tremendously because those guys aren't bought into the culture. They're just there to cash a check. Like our coaching staff has prioritized these guys and picked these guys out from these smaller conferences that are like, you're a scorer, you're a hard worker. We see the potential in you. Come and win. And they develop and they go through their lumps and they grow as men. And it's just incredible to see like Wendell. Wendell is a perfect example. I hope you all will tune into that interview. But I just want to call that out too. Like we're not doing this with the top guys in the country, the transfer portal, etc. These are guys that are just like they're winners. They see something in them, and they're just great evaluators from that standpoint.
Want to give some shout outs in the chat. War Eagle, thanks for coming, guys. Kames Current, AU Bear, thanks for always being here. Mr. Beautiful is always here. War Eagle, Brian Daniels, Gibbs, Profanity. Like, love you guys coming in the chat. You guys bring so much interesting content to us. Emily Brock's in the chat. Somebody named Sanichu. I think first time in the chat. Thanks for coming. I don't know if I recognize
Jackson,
that one. War Eagle, Sanichu.
Gonna fight you, Jackson.
I'm kidding, Sanichu. I remember you. I remember you, Sanichu. I had to do a bit there. Thanks for coming again. Please keep coming. I will not forget you ever again. Pocket Watch is in the chat, of course. Love it. Super fun having you guys here, celebrating with you guys. The virtual Tumors Corners, we call it. It's been super fun all year to have like this community a bit. Ryan, this might be a good time before we talk SEC schedule the rest of the time to plug that sponsor one more time. This is how we get a Kim Palm subscription. This is how we pay for Zoom. Like, go buy some stuff. I'll be wearing it. Like, go get something for this March. Treat yourself to March.
Yeah, and follow us on our socials. Instagram, X. I always want to say Twitter. Everywhere like that. We're constantly posting. We're going to be doing a lot more content coming into the season. We're going to have an SEC tournament preview. We're going to have March Madness preview once the bracket comes out. We may even do some other random stuff because we are all hungry for what's next. And we're excited to be partnering with a great brand called War Fam Eagle here locally in the Auburn area. We're going to be posting, some links and stuff throughout the week next week and things like that, for you all to go check them out. They've got some new stuff upcoming. There's been a couple of coaches that have worn their gear recently. Butch Thompson at the baseball program, Bruce Pearl Award on his press conference interview this Friday. So we're really popping off here and we're excited to partner with them. warfameagle.com is where you can find it. I'm wearing some of their stuff. I'm wearing a shirt here. Warfame Eagle got a cool little thing on the back. And then a couple of their hats. I got like 3 of their hats. They're super nice. They're, really great for when the warm weather's coming out, which is now here in the South. But
you've got to use the code, right? You've got to use the code for us to be able to buy Kim Palm's subscription, right?
Jungle 15 is where you can find that at on the code.
It's going to get you a sweet discount. It's going to get you a sweet discount, and you're going to want gear that you purchased this year to remember this team. It's going to connect you back to that time. Like, oh, I'm going to get the lucky shirt out of the closet because I bought this right after we clinched the SEC regular season title. You're going to want this gear, folks.
Yeah, and if you're local in the area, definitely go visit us. They're here local in Auburn. You'll see some of their gear throughout the area, but
and then buy it online, and use the discount code
exactly.
Jungle15.
Go buy it online, Jungle15. They're great people. And we're excited to be partnering with them. And we thank them for wanting to partner with us. And they're huge basketball fans. Their whole family's huge basketball fans. So when we were talking about the opportunity, it was a win-win for both of us. So excited to be partnering with them and excited for our fans to be a part of it as well too.
We got 2 games left in this SEC season. It has been simultaneously long. If you think back to those first games, and simultaneously super short because we've had such a great time. We said we only need to beat one of these 3 ranked SEC teams to clinch a share of the SEC regular season. Now we only need to win one of the next 2 to win it outright. And we could have it outright if Bama loses tonight to a Tennessee team, I believe, in Knoxville. We play at College Station against Texas A&M. That's going to be really tough against Buzz Williams coming off a great game like this. You just hope we keep momentum going. I'm not going to be sad if we lose that one, honestly. That's of all the games on our schedule, I think that was the one several of us pointed out in the SEC preview that we expected to lose or were most worried about. So don't freak out if we lose a little momentum on that one. That's going to be really tough to win in College Station. Then we play at home against number 6 Alabama in Neville Arena. No matter what happens, even if we've already clinched the SEC, our fans are going to be going nuts. I doubt we'll let the foot off the gas on that one or rest anybody because we got to beat Bama once again. Camp out again if they let you. That'll be really cool. Celebrate this team win or lose, which is going to be great. And then we got the SEC tournament. So what do you guys think?
I put the A&M game at the beginning of the year as my most excited game to watch because it was going to be such a tell. Going to a place where we have historically struggled against a team that we have historically struggled against this late in the year is going to tell us so much about who this team is. Now, this team has already shown us so much of their character and so much of who they are. But if you can go into College Station at the end of the year with, as we're seeing now, there's not going to be a ton on the line. You're still going to have one more shot, even if Alabama wins tonight, even if you lose that game, to clinch a title. It would be an easy game to look over. Our energy, the way that we play in that arena, is going to tell me how ready we are for March. And boys, I think we're pretty ready.
Yeah, it's very comforting to know that we don't have to go into these games as must win. Obviously, depending on the outcome today at Tennessee, you want an outright title, right? So continue to win, continue to carry momentum forward into the tournament is important. But Texas A&M has really struggled as of late. They've dropped a few in a row. So they're in kind of a slump right now. Everybody has a target. We have a target on our back in every game we're going to play. So getting this win in Lexington was a huge sigh of relief. Getting a win at A&M would also be a huge feat to the rest of the season. Like I said earlier, this team plays so much better on the road, it seems, at neutral sites. So I would not, I would be shocked if we win there to just handle business because that's just what we've done all year on the road. And then the game at Alabama or the game at Auburn against Alabama was just going to be an absolute crazy, just an absolute.
It'll be a barn burner, man.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
Barn burner.
It's gonna be crazy. I don't even know how to say it. Like the crowd's gonna be rocking. They're gonna be looking to cut nets at the end. You want to finish that at home and finish it the right way. So I think it's just gonna be business as usual from here forward. I don't think this win today, while we're gonna celebrate, this staff will have them focused for Tuesday, and I don't expect us to lose from here on out, really.
It's gonna be such an odd energy. I know you guys say it's gonna be hype, and I think it will be hype to celebrate this team. But man, if we could clinch it tonight, that we won the SEC regular season and still have a top 10 matchup against Alabama in our own house, it's gonna be strange because there will be people in the fan base that'll be like, rest our players. It doesn't matter. This game doesn't matter at all. We've already secured the number one seed.
Yeah.
Already, there will be there's already been people out there talking about rest players during the SEC tournament. We don't care about the SEC tournament. Just get them ready for the NCAA tournament. You can't do that.
Let me go
on record. Let me go on record as the guy who wanted the double eagle more than anybody on this podcast. I will give up winning the SEC tournament if it means we beat Alabama at home to end the regular season. That game matters.
I think
it matters.
Might make a point there.
It matters, but I mean, look, I agree.
I don't know. I take it back. You did not make a point at all because a ring and a banner is still a huge deal historically. No, like people will talk about like getting Bama twice that year, but like people will look at those banners and rings.
We've got a ring. Our best team ever still has Nate frickin' Oates and his squad breathing down our necks. They've been breathing down our necks this whole season. They've got way more money than we have to spend out there. Shout out to the Nevils, but the rest of the NIL team, you need to step it up. We cannot lose to them with our best team ever and let them think that they are in the same league as us because they are not.
I'm on the opposite side opinion. I think banners and rings are still much more important, especially if you already clinched it over them. I think I'd rather be able to look up in the next 10 years and look back and see that we double eagled with that great team, especially when then the NCAA tournament is just such a crapshoot. At least if you can win both of those, you still feel like you got 2 out of the 3, even though I know we would all trade an SEC tournament for a long run in the NCAA, but that's not how it works. And I think momentum is a big deal. Any other thoughts, guys? Do you want to address anything else on a historic night? We've only got 2 more of these in the regular season.
What else can you say? But this has been the best year of the Auburn Jungle podcast. This has been the best year of being a fan to just watch this team. It's been such exciting basketball. There have been some times this team has given us some headaches, but they've always found a way to win. We are 27-2. Did anybody think this team could be here?
No way. I mean, I knew we could be good, but this is the hardest schedule in the entire country. I thought with that kind of schedule, we could do better than any other team potentially, but not like this.
Not like this. It's crazy. I mean, I can just think back to our preseason podcast where we were just, wanting to get through the non-conference with 2 losses. And here we are now at the end of the season with just 2 games left. It's a dream season. And this is something that we all have to be excited about moving forward because we may never see this again, and just enjoy what we're going through because it may never happen. Teams like this in college basketball don't come around often. So I'm excited to see what we do in March and see what we do the last 2 games of the year.
All right, guys. One last question for you. Ryan, you having fun?
The most fun I've ever had in my life is happening right now, even though I couldn't see the second half. I'm having the most fun.
Ben, you having fun?
Never had fun like this before, Jackson.
For myself, I am jubilant. I am having the most fun you could possibly be having. I'm excited. I'm worn out, but loved every minute of it.
Exhausted.
I wish exhausted, but
We
like
sleep
that's
in
how it
May.
goes.
We sleep in May,
We've
folks.
got plenty more great games to go. Go in there and put copy on this and send it to your friends as a celebration of what this team has done and get them excited for March and say, this is how you get excited because these guys are excited just like you are. Guys, thanks for coming and watching on YouTube and on the podcast. War Eagle.
War Eagle, boys.
Thanks for coming,
Nice work, fellas. Way to
YouTube.
knock that out.
Dude, you are right, man. This is exhausting. Just ranked game after ranked game after ranked game. And there's no break. There is no break.
We need
none.
Is it on? I was just trying to find Janai Broom's website. I guess it's on the Auburn Tigers. So I was hoping it was like its own solo website, and I was not getting like good SEO on trying to find it here. But I hope we keep pushing him. I know this wasn't his best game, but like, got to cement all these accolades.
It'll be fine. There's still 2 games left. He's got plenty of opportunity.
When is it vote? Is it after the regular season, after the SEC tournament, before NCAA? Is it after the whole entire year's gone?
I think it's after the whole year. Well, let me look.
No. I feel like they've been talking about the Wooden Award. I think it's like before the Final Four or something like that.
It's maybe, yeah. I just don't want the NCAA
Chad,
runs to like.
It is going to be March 18th. The finalists are announced April 2nd. The Wooden Award is announced after the NCAA championship game.
Is that the National Player of the Year award? Is that what they mean? But
yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
It's like the most prestigious one.
I wonder how much then like going on an NCAA run impacts it, because I feel like that would be. I like that the Heisman comes out before anything else after that, even though that's like different in college football because it's been.
I know this is a Auburn basketball podcast, but dude, Arkansas just absolutely crapped the bed today. That is crazy.
Yeah, we didn't really do around the SEC like
Tennessee's in the process. Tennessee's in the process of doing that. They're down 4 at the half, so they're messing around with Alabama. They gave up 42 points, so they're gonna have to lock in and start hitting some shots if they want to. If they want to help us seal
miserable.
This thing.
They were
also it's a big deal. It's a big deal for Tennessee. If Tennessee loses this game, they're out of the double bye.
I'm so tired of Alabama being good. Like they've got to be so mad at how good we are though, because they're really good this year, and I hate that they're as good as they are, and we're still that much better than them.
Yeah.
They have to play Tennessee, Florida, and Auburn to end their season. That's insane. They have to win all 3 of those to even tie us for an SEC championship.
Yeah,
crazy.
Couldn't happen to a nicer program.
All right, gentlemen. All right, YouTube. We'll see y'all soon. See you Tuesday night for the late show.
War Eagle, Ryan.
Cool. See y'all. I'm gonna head out too, Ben.